Hi, this is Miss Litton, and this is a very teeny tiny little HBio review. Say hi.
Hi.
I'm assuming you all are not here because your test was switched out and you think I'm reviewing on Wednesday, but I had something else planned for that day. So today is still the review day for that. You need to remember to check your 7th period support calendar. It's been on there for a few weeks. Okay, so the first thing is you have a lot in this unit. You really, if you think about it, it's lots. So the first, if we break it down just to systems, we have cardiovascular, then we have immune, and then we have nervous and endocrine comparisons, but mostly endocrine, and then we go into nervous system, and then your additional objectives, okay? So I posted that on Instagram, so you have the top 10 list already there for you. So let's talk about blood vessels, heart chambers, and valves. That would be something I would ask you on your group part of your test for sure, would be kind of the flow of blood through the body and understanding arteries, arterioles, capillaries, how they function, and the 4 chambers of heart. So let's just go through the song and the parts of the heart and make sure we understand all of that, right? Okay, here we go. Arteries go away from the heart, veins go towards. Arteries, arterioles, capillaries in the middle, venules, veins. Heart, body, heart, lungs. Heart, systemic, heart, pulmonary. Atria, collect, and ventricles, pump. Perfect. Now, misconceptions. What do you think are some misconceptions people might write wrong when they talk about arteries and veins? Exactly, that's a top misconception. Arteries carry oxygenated blood and veins carry deoxygenated. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Arteries go away and veins go towards, okay? Which has the highest blood pressure, an artery or a vein? Arteries, because they're going away from the heart and they have the thick musculature. What do veins have? Arteries have thick muscles, veins have valves to help the blood go in the same direction. Now, let's think about how those valves work. To keep the blood going in the right direction, yes, you do have blood shoving it from behind, but what helps facilitate it? What squeezes on the veins? Muscles, exactly. So the vein walls are thin, and when the muscles contract in your body, they push against the vein walls, and it squishes the vein, collapses it. This forces blood to move, and it can only move in one direction because of the valves. Where does all exchange take place? Capillaries. And what facilitates that in capillaries? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Why can it happen, though, at the capillaries and not in an artery or a vein?
One cell thick.
Good. One cell thick, so it allows for diffusion. Okay? Now, we'll talk about what happens at the capillary in more detail in just a minute. Let's talk about the chambers of the heart real quick. So if I was going to make a little chamber box, here we go. What would this be called right here where I'm pointing? Right atrium, and goes down into the what? Right ventricle. What's the name of the valve right here? Tricuspid. I'm sorry, I'm not facing you. Do you remember the name of the vessels that go into the right atrium? Superior vena cava and inferior vena cava, or another name for this is anterior and posterior vena cava. Does that make sense? Okay, and I made it blue only. Is blood ever blue? No. It just looks blue through our skin, okay? So it has deoxygenated blood. It goes up and out. What keeps blood going the same direction right here? Do you remember what we call that? Semilunar valve. Good. And it goes up and away, okay? When it goes out of your right ventricle, it's deoxygenated. It needs to go get some oxygen. We're in big arteries because we're going away. This one on this side would be called the what? I'm on what side of my heart? Left. What? Pulmonary artery. And this would be the right pulmonary artery. And it goes arteries, then what? Arterioles, capillaries around the alveoli exchange, right? And when it comes back, it'll come back in your what? Left pulmonary vein and right pulmonary vein into your, what is this chamber? Left atrium goes through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle, then up and out. What through? What valve? And then out your aorta. Okay, are we good on following it? We understand the chambers, oxy, deoxy. We good? Yes. Okay. Now, what makes the heart beat? Yes, SA node. And the SA node stands for sinoatrial, and it's up here in your right atrium. Okay, and it sends a wave of depolarization. Starting to look weird. Oh, hi, come back up here. Somewhere here. Okay, sends a wave, SA node down to the AV node, down to the Purkinje fibers, and then it makes the ventricles contract. Who tells the SA node to beat? Medulla oblongata tells your SA node how to beat. Okay, we all right with that? Okay, so then let's talk about at the capillaries. Okay, at the capillaries, moving through here, there are two pressures at a capillary bed. So I'm just imagining this is a capillary right here. What is the out pressure? What's it called? Hydrostatic, right? Do you remember this? Forcing blood what? Or the fluid in blood what? Out. Good. And it gets less the farther you get along that capillary bed because it's farther away from the what? Heart. Okay? What is the contrasting pressure? Osmotic. And osmotic says what? To come in. Okay, and so by the time you get to the end of the capillary bed, the osmotic pressure that says come in is greater than the hydrostatic pressure that says go out. And this is how you get a flow of fluids, okay? A flow of fluids out of the capillary bed and back in with waste, right? Out with oxygen and nutrients and back in with waste and carbon dioxide. Let's talk about what kind of things are dissolved in blood. Well, first, there's the talk about the formed elements. What are the formed elements? Red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. There's large proteins that won't come out of the blood either. But if it's not a formed element, it's called plasma. And plasma is mostly what? Mostly water. Okay, so now we're talking about what is dissolved in the water. You ready? Road trip. Gases, nutrients, salts, proteins, nitrogenous waste, hormones, and vitamins. Yay! Okay, good job. Those are the kind of things that... All right, so then back here, structure, function, blood vessels, heart chambers, valves, we did that. Blood pathways, components, disorders, okay? Let's see if we can come up with some disorders of your blood. What do you call high blood pressure? Hypertension. What do you call clogged blood vessels? Atherosclerosis. What do you call it when you get a cramp in your heart? What do you call it when a blood vessel bursts? What about when your brain dies because a blood vessel burst? Stroke or was blocked. Okay, I think we did them. All right. So that was like 3 days worth of lecture. We just reviewed it in like 5 minutes. Awesome sauce. Questions about, you need to have additional objectives over that you want to review in case those come up. All right. Next, let's talk about your immune system. So first of all, what we want to think about is what are some things we have to keep things out of our body. It's our very first line, not our police force, just that's the first line is just keeping things out of our body. What are some things we have to keep out of our body? Skin, hair, saliva, low pH of your stomach, wax, right? So all those things try to keep things out of our body. But if something gets in our body, the first line of defense, it's in our body, it's in us, okay? So what are some things that go to protect us? It's part of your general police force. Like everybody's born with it. It's called your innate immune response. What are some things we have in there? What? Tell me. What? Macrophage. Okay, so a macrophage likes to do what? Eat. He likes to eat. So So he will eat, eat, eat. And he will display, too, what he's eating, right? Okay, what else do we have? We have neutrophils. Good. And this is what we have the highest percentage of. There's neutrophils. These are like our police force. And we have a bunch of them. Hi, guys. We have a bunch of neutrophils. And they're about 70% of our police force. I know, is she cute? 70% of our police force. And they are trying to eat, and neutralize whatever we have. What else happens as part of our general response? Histamine, is that what you're saying? Who secretes histamine? Yes. So mast cells secrete histamine. Now, let's talk about that. The consequences of histamine secretion. What happens there? What?
Swelling.
Yeah, we could get swelling. And why do we get swelling? Because of why? Swelling because our capillaries get leaky. Do you remember that? The spaces between them? So the space in between the endothelium cells or the capillaries are getting leaky. So when the hydrostatic pressure comes into the capillary, a lot of fluid is pushed out. Okay, so swelling. What else could we get? Why do we want the space to increase? Yes, so we can have our response cells can get there easier. Okay, what else happens? Swelling. We got swelling. I just said that. Increased temperature. Actually, I didn't say that. One of you said you have increased temperature. You have increased pain. Do you know what we refer to all of this as? Yes. Inflammatory response. Good job. Okay? So that is our general police force. Why weren't you saying all of this? Okay. Okay, good. I think that's good. We good on that? Okay, now, things like macrophages, neutrophils, and there's another one in there, I don't know. I think I taught it to you, dendritic cells. Yeah, didn't I? Yeah. Okay, these cells right here are called APCs. Do you remember what APCs are? Antigen-presenting cells. Now, antigen-presenting cells are important when we talk about our specific immune response. There are two divisions of our specific immune response. So antigen-presenting cells are presenting some foreign antigen to what kind of cells? T cells, right? So T cells care about our antigen-presenting cells displaying something, right? Our B cells come in contact with the pathogen directly. So if we were going to compare and contrast those two, okay, so a B cell is going to come in contact with the virus or the pathogen itself is going to trigger the B cells, but antigen-presenting cells are going to trigger the T cells. Does that make sense? When a B cell is stimulated, you will get two types of cells. What are the two types of cells you'll get from a B cell? Plasma. And what other kind of cell? Memory cells. Good job. What do plasma cells make? Yes, antibodies. And memory cells are for next time. Making a call, okay? Sometime in the future so you can fight them faster. So antibodies are great because what they'll do is they will stick onto whatever bacteria we have, and when the Y of their arms will grab onto that bacteria, and so they can cause it to clot and have people have other organisms like macrophages eat it because it's been tagged with an antibody. Okay? But antigen-presenting cells, what they will do when they're presenting, they present on MHC what? 2s. And they present a part of that pathogen, whereas one of your sick cells who's been infected with this guy, sorry, that wasn't very good. One of your sick cells will present on an MHC what? Okay, so when you have, who will come up and take care of those presenting on an MHC1? Something T cells. Cytotoxic. Yeah, T cells. So when you display on an MHC2, you could have a helper T cell. Oh, I shouldn't write. That was the bad guy color. You could have a, damn it. Oh, I just swore. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Good girl now. You could have a helper T cell who will respond to that right there. And that helper T cell will make, if he's stimulated, a cytotoxic T, and he likes to kill. And what other kind of cells could you make? Memory for the future. Okay, so you make three kinds of cells: helper T cells, cytotoxic T cells, and memory cells. And cytotoxic T cells will kill anybody displaying on an MHC1, you're done. Okay? In this way, you take care of the free-floating viruses and bacteria using your B, and you take care of your own cells that are infected using your T cells, so you can wipe it out. And then all the other cells commit, once the infection is over, what do they commit? Apoptosis, and all you do is keep the memory cells. Okay? Ask the person next to you, how do you feel about all that? Are you feeling comfy? Oh, I feel so good. All right. Any other questions you want to ask me about that? Okay. So, I didn't even point this near me. Hi, hope you've been hearing me okay. You should have come today. All right. So, next, let's go back to our list here. So, we've done this, 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 this. Oh, okay, let's talk about the immune system, inducing it and its side effects. So, how we induce the immune system, we know how to do that. We have to present the actual pathogen to B cells. We have to present to T cells on an antigen presenting cells. But if I want to induce it, what I'm talking about is, let's say I don't want to get polio, what could I get instead? Vaccines. Or I could talk to somebody who has polio and get polio, right? So both of those things would trigger me to have immunity that I acquire in my lifetime. Either because I got the real deal or I got one that looked just like it, and I would have active immunity. If I have active immunity, that means I have it for my lifetime because I have memory cells. I didn't try to bypass it. I didn't get a shot of antibodies to neutralize it. I actually experienced either the real deal or a weakened version of it, and I raised my clone armies. They committed apoptosis, and now I have memory cells. If I don't have time because I just got bit by a snake or something like that, then I'll take a gamma globulin shot that could just give me the antibodies straight up. I won't have memory cells because I didn't really experience it because I neutralized it with all the antibodies. And if I was a little baby, what could I do? Breast milk would protect me because there's antibodies within the breast milk. Okay, what are some things that go wrong with that when you have what kind of reactions? Allergic reaction, or I could go into anaphylactic shock. All of those are overreactions of our immune response, or I could attack my own tissues. What are those called? Autoimmune diseases. Okay? And if you want to give an organ to somebody, you've got to matchy-matchy. Otherwise, you will reject that organ. Okay? Matchy-matchy. This outfit doesn't match. Okay, did it. All right. Next, nervous versus endocrine. Who's faster? Nervous. Okay, who works with a neurotransmitter? Who works with a hormone? Who works with generating proteins? Endocrine. Yeah, do you know which one? Steroid hormones or protein hormones does protein synthesis? Steroid. Yeah, they're slower but more long-lasting. Okay? Just un momento. My new stylized photo is ready. Oh, thank goodness. I was worried about that. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the comparisons. Nervous versus endocrine we just did. Let's talk about protein, steroid, and the different kinds of feedback. So protein hormones versus steroid. So messy. I'm too far away. Oh, how about that? Magic. Move the chair back. Okay, protein hormones, let's talk about where the receptor is for these. Where's the receptor for protein hormones? Cell membrane. And what does that trigger? Second messenger inside. Exactly. Where's the receptor for steroid hormones? In the cytoplasm, or even all the way up to inside the nucleus, right? And this is slower because you have to take the time to do protein synthesis, where this one is faster, and it usually makes like glucose available to it. Okay, now let's talk about what kind of hormones are steroid hormones. Where do they come from? Yeah, ovaries, testes, and your adrenal cortex. And then these are everywhere else. That doesn't even spell everywhere. Okay, everywhere else, okay? So steroid hormones do work longer. Okay, next, let's talk about regulation. What are some ways we can regulate? We can talk about this, we can talk about this, and we can argue. You know what I'm doing for that one? Okay, so positive feedback, is that common or not common? What? Not common. Okay, good. Oh, whatever. Okay, so not as common, because what it's doing is, instead of it's just taking the hormone and it's going higher, 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 and higher, right? Can you remember an example for a positive feedback? Oxytocin, and this makes a baby out. Super good adaptation. What else comes out? Without milk comes out, so you can feed your babies. Good. All right. Negative feedback is most common. That's what you would see. And this is where it's trying to keep it around some sort of set point. So it doesn't want too much of it. It doesn't want too little of it. It's like setting the thermometer in your oven. So what was our example for that? What? Remember thyroid hormone? Yeah, when thyroid hormone goes up, it exerts then negative feedback on the hypothalamus and the what? Pituitary gland. Hypothalamus secretes thyroid releasing hormone, and the pituitary gland secretes thyroid stimulating hormone, which triggers the thyroid gland to release thyroid hormone. Does that sound familiar? Okay, negative feedback on both of those. Okay, why did I write argue? What kind of hormones are those? Yes, that's another name. Antagonistic or contrary hormones. What's a really good example of that? Yep. Glucagon makes glucose go up, and what? Insulin makes blood glucose go down. And it gets it just right. And I talk like a bath. You need some hot water, you need some cold water to get the temperature just right. We got on that? Questions? Ask your neighbor. Are you have any questions on that, neighbor? Are you my neighbor? Okay. So, nervous endocrine, protein, positive, negative. We did that. Okay. Now, glands. On this one, you're going to want to know where they are and what they secrete. Okay? And so, if you had a person, once again, we don't even need shoes though. That's it. Okay. All right. How'd you do, guys?
I think we did well.
Okay, good. All right. What are some glands in the brain we want to know about? One starts with a P. Oh, I wasn't even thinking about that one. Pineal. Do you remember what it secretes? Melatonin. What is melatonin? Melatonic. Must be thirsty. Melatonin, what does that do? What? Helps you sleep. Yeah, as you sleep, the melatonin levels go up. Good. All right, then you gave me another one. What was the other one you told me about? Hypothalamus and the pituitary. And we have two. We need to quickly write things here. The pituitary. Okay. Out of the posterior pituitary, what do we have? Oxytocin and ADH. Okay. So posterior pituitary, remember that's directly connected to the hypothalamus, direct connection because the posterior pituitary came out, right, of the brain. And oxytocin, you already told me, milk out, baby out. And ADH increases what? Water reabsorption in your kidneys, right? All right, and for the anterior pituitary, you don't have a direct connection. This is where you have double capillaries. If you remember from there, can you remember some of the hormones that we get from the anterior pituitary? Growth hormones, muscles and bones. Good, what else? Adrenal corticotropic hormone stimulates the adrenal cortex. I heard you say another one. What was another one? Prolactin helps you with what? Making milk. And FSH and LH, the gonadotropins, having to do with ovaries and testes. Okay, is that it on that one that I had you learn? No, one more. Yeah, thyroid stimulating hormones. Just TSH. Okay, are we good on that one? Okay, let's go down in our throat. Here's your thyroid gland. This is so hideous. I can't believe I'm recording this. Thyroid gland secretes thyroid hormone. We all right? Okay. Here's your heart right here. Sitting on your heart is another gland. You know what it is? Yes, thymus. And this thymus gland helps with T cells. Yes? Maturation. And then, oh, we forgot something on the thyroid gland. What gland is that? There's parathyroid. Okay, and it secretes parathyroid hormone. And these there's a second hormone by the thyroid gland called calcitonin. Yeah, what is calcitonin? Yeah, exactly. It lowers blood calcium, and parathyroid gland raises blood calcium. Again, this diagram is so hideous. I strongly recommend that you Google, glands or anything other than this. Okay, next, let's see. We've got a stomach coming down here and some intestines. Okay. You're nervous from my diagram. In here, let's put a pancreas. Okay, what do we know we have coming out of our pancreas? Glucagon and insulin. It's a very large pancreas. Now, next we could either have some ovaries. Just stop. Okay, what comes out of the ovaries? Estrogen or progesterone. Good. Testosterone. That's all I'm doing. What other ones did I teach you? What? Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Terrible job. Okay. So in the back here, you've got some kidneys, and you've got your adrenal gland sitting on top of your kidneys. Your adrenal gland, let's blow this up and bring it over here. Your adrenal gland has two parts to it, the outer part and the inner part. What comes out of the inner part of the adrenal gland? Epinephrine or adrenaline and norepinephrine, which is what? Anger. And then from your and the epinephrine and the norepinephrine is short-term stress, like the test, right? Whereas I don't think I had you remember glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, cortical sex hormones, like the names, but it's long-term stress, like AP or honors bio over a semester. Okay, that is so beautiful right there. Yes, awesome. Okay, so we did this, we did this. Okay, nervous system. Let's break down the nervous system. This is like 4 weeks of lecture in just 30 minutes. So the nervous system, we have our and our What would you say there? Yes, we have our central nervous system And our central nervous system consists of what? Brain and the spinal cord. And then we have our what? Peripheral nervous system. Our peripheral nervous system we can divide into two categories. What are the two categories? Somatic and autonomic. Okay, somatic is all about, give me one word. Exactly what I would have said. And autonomic, we don't have to think about this, and there are two divisions. What are the two divisions? Sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic has to do with stress, fight or flight. Parasympathetic is what? Rest and digest. Good. Now, any neuron that goes towards the central nervous system is going to be what? Sensory. Anyone that goes away is going to be what? Motor. And then what kind of neurons are in between? Inner neurons in your brain and your spinal cord. All right with that? Okay, next. Oh, whoops. Dang it. It's a very thick neuron. Okay, so let's label some things. What are these? Dendrites. And what do they do? Receive. Good. What's that?
Cell body.
Yes, that's a cell body with a nucleus I'm actually pointing to. What's this? Myelin sheath. Good. And what does that help with? Insulation and also speed, right? Good. And then what's this called right here? Axon, ax off. And then this right here is what? Axonal bulb. Okay. Now, it's from the bulb that you will release what out of vesicles? Neurotransmitters. And these neurotransmitters could go to your another neuron or an effector. And your effectors are what? Muscle or gland or another neuron. Again, gorgeous. All right, next, let's talk about the resting potential. What is the resting potential of a neuron? What on the inside? What's the charge on a neuron on the inside? Negative. And what is it on the outside?
Positive.
Did you even see it change color? How did that happen? Positive on the outside. There are three things that contribute to the resting potential. What are those three things? Yes, sodium, potassium pump, which is 3 sodiums in for every 2 potassiums out. Yes?
Yes.
So it's unequal distribution of positive charges. What's the second thing that contributes to the resting potential? Negatively charged ions and proteins. And the third thing? Yep, leaky potassium gates. Okay? What is an action potential? Something's going in. Who's going in? Yeah. Na gates open. Na goes in. And then you have a reverse. Yes?
It's switched. There's 3 out and 2 in.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even catch that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, peoples. Okay, sodium goes, and you're like, wait, I'm confused. It's just confusing me. Sodium goes in if a what is reached. Will the gate start opening? The threshold. Remember that? Remember the threshold? If the threshold is reached, okay, then the sodium gates start flowing in, and sodium goes in a sequence, like a roll off, like brrr, sodium goes in. When sodium goes in, all of a sudden, the positive charges that were once outside are now inside. So temporarily, it becomes positive, positive, positive along the length of the neuron, right? That is your action potential. That's how you get from point A, dendrites, to point B, axonal bulk, is this reversal of charge. Okay? What is the fix for this? There are 2 fixes. What's the quick fix? potassium goes out, and it replaces the sodium ion that was outside. In fact, so much will go out, it actually gets super negative on the inside, which is called the refractory period. Did I teach you that? Keeps the impulse going in one direction. Okay? All right, what is the long-term fix? Sodium, potassium, pump. This thing right here. Pumping 3 sodiums out for every 2 potassiums in. Okay? And those are always going. Whether a neuron fires or not, you're always doing the sodium potassium pump. Okay, now let's talk about that synapse. So I'm at an axonal bulb. Here's the next neuron. And if this is my postsynaptic neuron, then this has to be my presynaptic. Good? Okay, now initially sodium's going in, right? And potassium is going out to take its place, yes? But by the time you get down to the axonal bulb, something new is coming in. Who's coming in? Calcium is coming in. And it's making the synaptic vesicles with its neurotransmitter. Okay. Move to the edge, right, of the presynaptic neuron, and it releases that neurotransmitter, which will bind to receptors here on the postsynaptic neuron. And if it's excitatory, what gates will start to open up again? Sodium. Yeah, so sodium will come in, and you'll get another action potential traveling along the length of that neuron. And if it's inhibitory, then the gates will close. Okay? Hey! All right. Then the gates will close. Where are we? Nervous system breakdown, divisions and functions, neuron structure, function, resting.
Perfect time.
That is. Okay, yes, drink your cup of tea. So don't forget to review your additional objectives. I don't know. I heard somebody talking about this 2 weeks ago. Do your additional objectives. We missed you here today. Hope you're studying, and if you are hungry, eat a piece of toast. Bye now. Tell them bye.
Bye.